let us arise as your hands and feet. Give sight to the blind, reach out to the lost as we arise, we arise.
So hi everyone, I'm Bernadette from the MGL Sisters, and I just wanted to give a little talk on managing stress and conflict, particularly in our current times. I'm sure as you have been too, I've been trying to listen on social media and to the conversations I've been having with people around me, and trying to think about, well, what are some of the things that aren't being spoken about? And I thought this was one area that was really important to talk more about. And I guess where that's come from is because I can see in myself and in others around me, and probably in people around the world at this stage, that there is more stress in people's lives, and it potentially leading to more conflict as well. It's something that I've heard a few people saying. And so it could just be that there's extra stress in your workplace if you're still at work, or because of the changes of working from home. There might be more stresses in the family home as well, or with whoever you live with. A lot of people I've been talking to are saying I'm spending a lot more time with my family, and that's actually been a really difficult thing to negotiate. I know some of my friends are mothers as well, parents, fathers, and there's more time spent at home with children who might be home from school. There might be financial stress, lots of different things, but it's changing the dynamics of how we're living. It's changing, everything's changed, and very rapidly. So I think for a lot of people, myself included, we're finding that there's a little bit more stress in our lives at the moment, and potentially that can lead to a little bit more conflict as well. So I just wanted to go through a few strategies as to how to manage that stress, and also how to I suppose avoid situations of conflict, but also how to bounce back from when that happens with your family, in your home, in your workplace, with yourself and others. So I guess, why is this so in this place? And I guess it's good to name that there's uncertainty around, there's fear around, there's hypervigilance around as well. Some people, for some people you're just thinking, oh, have I got the virus? Like, shall I wash my hands again? Or just, that extra level of vigilance that we're all required to have. It can be vicariously too, so you might be thinking, well, I'm actually quite calm at the moment, but you might be living with someone who is quite stressed as well, or someone you love might be in a particularly stressful predicament because of the situation that we're currently in at the moment. And the other reason I reckon where there might be a bit of conflict is because things are changing. So dynamics are changing. Husband and wives are having to work alongside each other at home in a way that they might have never had before. Families are spending more time at home. Change is everywhere. But also just due to differing opinions as well. So I know that on social media there's been, some difference of opinions in how we approach this, or should I see that person or not that person? And even in families as well, that difference of opinion as to how, should we see each other or not, or how are we going to approach this situation together? So I feel like they're my reasons for saying that it'd be great to look at, well, how do we manage stress when we see it in ourselves, and how do we manage conflict when we find we're in conflict with someone else? I guess a reason that maybe doesn't need to be stated, but I will anyway. Why do we care about this? And I guess it's because we're on the road to holiness. So that means that we want to be holy in our actions towards others, but we also want wholeness, fullness of life for each one of us, and even in this time, that there's fullness of life on offer for each of us, even amidst uncertainty and all that is happening at the moment. And also because I think when our actions, so I guess, I don't know for you, but often for a lot of people, when there's stress around, when things are heightened, then conflict and poor choice of actions is sometimes a consequence. We want to be people that, where our intent to be holy is matched in our actions as well. And when we sin, we know that that's something that's really painful for us and painful for others. Another reason too why we want to look at this is because we want to be people of service to other people, and we can't do this while we haven't dealt with what's going on with us as well. And I feel like this is an incredible time to be a witness as well. So I feel like the more that we know what's happening within ourselves, the more that we can deal with those emotions that are happening within us, the more of a joyful and hopeful witness we can be, the more of service we're going to be for others in walking them through these times as well. So we want to be those kind of people that have done the work ourselves and then can reach out to others and journey with them in a really intentional way in this time. So I'm going to give you 4 strategies. I think they're quite simple and they're all related to the Christian journey as well. So they might be from saints or from people who have studied the Christian life. But basically I just chose these ones because they've been helpful for me. I know they've been helpful for other people as well in changing behaviours and becoming more compassionate with myself and with others, for increasing self-awareness as well, which is a big thing. And I guess the fruit I can see from it is really the fruits of the Holy Spirit as well. So more peace and more joy, more patience, all those beautiful things within me and in my actions and interactions with others. So a lot of them come from spiritual direction exercises. Some of them come from psychology, but they're woven in with our experience of the spiritual life. And just acknowledging the fact that we're integrated persons, okay? We're integrated people. So what's happening in our mind, what's happening in our body, what's happening in our spirit are all interrelated, and God cares about every single part of that. So should we. Okay, so strategy number 1. It's a very simple one. I've just called it check yourself. So I don't know where that's come from. I didn't do any research on this little heading, but I just know my friends are always like, check yourself before you wreck yourself. So that's strategy number 1. So my first question to you, you might have already done this. It's a very serious one. Have you checked in with yourself recently, but also regularly throughout this time as well? And what does this mean? What does check yourself mean? Like, that sounds like a little bit strange potentially, but I guess it's just becoming really aware of how you're really doing. So when someone will ask you, oh, how are you going? You're like, oh, I'm good, thanks. Okay, but checking yourself means becoming really aware of actually what's happening down, in below the surface level that people hear in your heart and in your mind and in your spirit as well. What's happening? And I guess a way to narrow this down, okay, so some of us are really great at talking about emotions and we've got all this great emotional vocabulary. But if you're just starting out on this, or you're like, I don't really do emotions, I'm not very good at this, there's just 4 base kind of emotions my spiritual director once told me. So I guess the question to ask yourself could be, am I feeling glad at the moment? So that could be, I'm feeling quite content, feeling happy, feeling excited even, loving all this time inside, whatever it is. So glad, they all kind of rhyme as well, so they're easy to remember. Next one could be sad. Okay, so could be that you're feeling a bit of grief and loss, or down, or moody, or glum, we might even say, like it's getting you down. Some of the news might be, I know myself, I've been cut off from loved ones. When they closed the South Australian borders, I was like, oh, because my parents live in South Australia. I was thinking of them and had a bit of grief over that. You might be feeling mad as well, so we've had glad, sad, mad, they all rhyme, so it's very easy to check in with how you're feeling. So you might be starting to feel really annoyed or frustrated. You're around your family a lot more and there's more noise, I can't get any space, I'm missing my friends, missing going out, and it's just making me feel kind of cooped up and I'm frustrated. A lot of people are really angry as well at certain things. They're angry at people hoarding, they're angry at people not sharing. I know a lot of people are really, can be angry because the government's making decisions they don't agree with, okay, and that's very real. Okay, people might be angry that their customers are coming in clearly with symptoms, okay, coughing all over them, and there's nothing that they can do. That would make you feel quite angry. So it's good to know if that's going on for you. You might be anxious as well, so that one doesn't rhyme, so it sits kind of on its own, but you might be feeling a bit fearful. It's very scary times that we're heading into, or you might have just noticed that you're on edge more, okay? Or even just like I said before, that sense of hypervigilance, okay? Hypervigilance is like I've got to be on alert all the time, okay? When I touch my shopping trolley, when I put my hand on the banister on the stairwell in a public place or whatever, there might just be this extra level of hypervigilance. You're just telling every second person, don't touch that, wash your hands. Okay, like just feeling a little bit more on edge. So that would be anxious. So glad, sad, mad, or anxious. Okay, so just that awareness alone of how you're feeling can be really important, because then you actually know what you're bringing into your conversations, what you're bringing onto your social media, what you're bringing into those that you are interacting with, and you can manage that then accordingly. Okay, so how would you know that? There can be physical kind of things that you experience with each of those emotions. Like, so for example, for me, a few weeks back, the beaches were still open. I wasn't doing anything illegal, but I went for a swim down at the beach, and I just noticed that I was a little bit more on edge than usual. Okay, I wasn't just really comfortable in the water, but I just could notice that my breath was a bit more shallow and that I was a bit more tense. And I was like, oh, I didn't realise, but I think I'm a little bit anxious. And it was at the time when a lot of my ministry had started to be cancelled, okay? And I was starting to think, well, what am I going to do now? I realised that because of that, I was just feeling a little bit on edge. Okay, so first one, check yourself before you wreck yourself and other people. Okay, so really check in and know each and every day, how are you going? How is this affecting you? Strategy number 2 is, if you don't already do it, to try the examine. So it's called an examination of consciousness by St Ignatius. And so essentially in it, we review our day, we look for the movements of the Holy Spirit, where we responded to the Holy Spirit and where we didn't respond. Okay, and like I'll share with you, this can be a great tool of gratitude, where you might have got to the end of the day and just are feeling overwhelmingly tired or stressed from your day. This experience will actually help you to see moments of gratitude and joy and positive things that happen in your day. And it can also just bring to mind the harder moments of the day as well. So you can look on the internet for a little outline of the examine. Basically, there's normally 5 kind of steps, 4 or 5 steps. First one would be just to ask God for light, for the light of the Holy Spirit. Second one is just to thank God for the gift of the day. The third one is to review your day. So you play a little movie back to yourself and think about when you woke up and all the events of your day. You review your day and you're looking for those blessed moments, moments of gratitude, and you're looking for those harder moments as well. And you might even like to write them down. I find that really helpful as well, to write that down. Okay, the fourth thing you're going to do is to ask the Lord for healing for those moments that hurt you, but also for forgiveness for the moments where you felt a prompting of the Holy Spirit, but you turned away. Or maybe you felt prompted to move in love and you chose not to do that, or where you sinned, or any of those sorts of things. Okay, so ask for healing and forgiveness. That's the fourth thing. And the fifth thing that you can do is resolve. Okay, so the resolve part is where we look towards the next day, tomorrow. We make a resolve to be more attentive to the Holy Spirit and to be more like Jesus in our interactions with others. Okay, so like I said, that can be a really good way to end the day. So pick up that practice if you haven't already, and especially if you're wanting to if you're feeling a bit stressed or down, or feeling some unpleasant kind of emotions around this whole thing, that could be a really good thing to do, okay, just to bring those moments to the Lord. The third one is a bit of an extension on the examine, but it's called an attention to experience exercise. So I learnt this from Father Tony Schick, who's from the Missionaries of God's Love, and on the MGL website, in the section called Going Deeper, you'll find an outline of this experience on the website. But basically, when you've experienced something that's got a lot of emotional content, this can be a really good way to process that. So it could be positive or it could be negative. Usually it will be something negative because you'll want to debrief it, and just it might be something that you just feel like you can't let go. You're going over and over and over it in your mind. If you want to get off that kind of treadmill, this is a really good way to do that. So what you do with this exercise is you can journal it or just go through it in your mind. So if you're talking to yourself, first thing you want to do is say, well, what happened? So for example, it could be, I was stuck at home all day, and when I went out for lunch, I got really cranky with my family. They were really annoying me. Okay? You can write down what you said, what happened. Okay? Then you're looking at what were my thoughts before, during, and after. So my thoughts before could be something like, I couldn't get my uni assignment to upload, and what should have taken 2 minutes took me an hour, and now I feel really stressed because I've got lots to do. Okay, so that could be your thoughts. Okay, so your thoughts could be, this is really annoying, I'm really frustrated. Okay, Your thoughts during could be, I just wanted to get my lunch, but everyone was in my way. I wish I was home on my own. Okay, so that could be your thoughts during. And your thoughts after could be, oh, I feel really bad now. I shouldn't have said those things. Or your thoughts after could be any number of things, depending on the situation. Okay, but it's really important to go before, during, and after. And then you look at your emotions before, during, and after. So I sort of did some of these before, but say before, there could have been already frustration within you when you went out for lunch because things weren't going your way already in your day. During, there could just be a sense of frustration, maybe feeling overwhelmed. If there's lots of family around, that sense of feeling overwhelmed. And then after, it could be a sense of guilt, like I yelled at my mum and now I feel really guilty. Could be just still anger, like I just feel really angry at my family, feel really frustrated with them still. But it's really good to see that progression, because then you can start to see how one pattern or one event then flowed into the other. So I was already in a bad place, then I went outside, got cranky with my family, and now I'm feeling bad. I might even be feeling like I'm a bad person or a bad Christian because I go to church, but I'm cranky with my family every meal, something like that. The next thing you want to do is pick the main emotion, okay, and describe it. So say if ultimately there was a frustration, like the story I've just told is one of feeling frustrated or feeling overwhelmed, feeling angry, but you pick that emotion and then you start to describe it a bit more, okay? So if it was an object, what would it look like? So your frustration might feel like an echidna, really spiky and wanting to poke things, okay? Wanting to spike things, curled up on itself, okay? Or your frustration, I've thought of this one before, it might just feel like pouring water into sand, like no matter how hard I try, I never see anything for my efforts, okay? And there might also be a memory, okay, that comes up for you as well, like especially if it's a family dynamic thing or it's an interpersonal thing. You might think, oh, this reminds me of, when I was little and everyone used to be able to get what they wanted and I always felt like I could never get what I wanted, okay, or something like that. Might have an image of being little and nobody listening to you or something like that. But you can just talk to Jesus about this emotion, about the frustration, and tell him everything about it, how it feels, what does it look like, what does it make you think, how does it want to make you act. Okay, so you can pick an action that it makes you want to do. You can just tell him all about that. And this is a good way of becoming more free. Okay, so we know that there's no emotion that is sinful in and of itself. It's our actions that are sinful. And this is just Jesus wanting to love us exactly in how we are, and it can be really freeing to do this. Sometimes people feel stuck in this experience, and if you feel stuck, you can just talk to Jesus about what feeling stuck is like. Like you go, I just can't do this exercise, I really wanted to because I thought it would be really helpful, or I feel really bored. Okay, I feel really bored by this, I don't get it, I feel confused. Okay, so you talk about that with Jesus, and that can be enough. You don't have to push yourself to then have to come back to the experience you were trying to describe. And so basically then, to finish this exercise, you then think about, pray about, well, how does it feel like now? What's it like for you now? Okay, how do you feel now, especially in comparison to before? So you could say, well, I still feel a little bit frustrated by these circumstances, but I can see a little glimmer of hope coming through, or I do feel more peaceful now, or I feel more calm. I can notice my breathing has slowed down, something like that. Okay, so what's it like for you now? Okay, that's just a way of processing emotion, and particularly conflict will often have a lot of emotive kind of content in it. So that can be a really good process to go through. For just helping with our stress and helping with conflict as well. Okay, and the fourth strategy I want to offer you is from Brené Brown around shame awareness. So sometimes our strongest emotions and overreactions in even conflict can come when we experience shame, okay, or when we're triggered in a way that makes us feel shame. So most of us might know the experience of being embarrassed. That's very similar to shame, but not exactly what it is. But I'll give you some examples. So it could be when you've had an awkward encounter with someone at work, something embarrassing happened and you felt like, I feel like an idiot now, okay? Or you said something that made you feel ashamed. It could be you're at a Zoom meeting and your Wi-Fi was really slow, and so everyone just spent the whole meeting giggling at you, and then eventually you couldn't express what you wanted, and you feel like, I feel like such a loser now because of my Wi-Fi. Okay, something like that could make you feel shame. It could be someone noticing a mistake you made, like you might have done the minutes up for your meeting and you're going through them and someone says, oh Berna, you got that wrong, and you might think, oh no, I made a mistake, and that could be something that really sets off shame for you. Could be arriving to the meeting late, could be not knowing, like here's an example, not knowing who Bernadette Clairvaux is and everyone else around you seems to know everything about him, and you're like, who is this guy? I've never heard of him, okay? And maybe feel stupid and uneducated and excluded in that, okay? But that's also a shame kind of response, okay? But to understand when we're likely to experience shame, so what we'd call our shame triggers, there's a really simple exercise that you can do. So basically, you can just get a piece of paper, or think about it in your mind, and you say, I want to be perceived as, and so you have to be really honest and say, these are the things that I want to be perceived as. So for you, it could be, I want to be perceived as organised and punctual, competent, funny, likeable, popular, holy, humorous, whatever it is, helpful, valuable. Okay, so you list all the things that you would like to be perceived as, that you would like to be thought of by other people, educated, well informed, okay, these sorts of things. Then you make another list, I don't want to be perceived as, and it could be things like lazy, inattentive, insensitive, stupid, don't want to be perceived as, anything. Okay, and they're going to be really different for each person, but this will give you a little bit of insight into where you might experience shame, because whenever we, in fact, are perceived as one of what we would call our unwanted identities, that is where we're going to be experiencing shame. Okay, so if I really value people thinking that I'm organised and I'm really reliable, and then I have an experience where someone says, wow, you really let us down there, that could be a real shame trigger for me as well. Or especially a lot of us would really pride ourselves on being people of great virtue and people who are really holy and seeking that life of holiness, and then if something happens and a sin or a flaw in us is exposed, then that can leave us feeling a sense of shame as well. But basically these experiences really dislodge us. Okay, so when we experience shame, they dislodge us inside, and they can lead to undesirable behaviours. Okay, so we might numb ourselves then after an experience like that, just be like, I just need to eat donuts, okay, or whatever it is. Go on social media, alcohol, whatever it is. We might react with anger and have an outburst, maybe not in the moment, but later on the day, we're just like really angry and we don't know where it came from, but it actually was from that shame trigger that may have happened earlier in the day. We can condemn or harm ourselves, so self-condemnation. So shame is when you are, for the rest of the day, just being like, you idiot, like kicking yourself for the rest of the day. But we really need to break the cycle on these things. So you would know if it's shame, if it's kind of you're on that loop going around and around and around again. That would most likely indicate that that's triggered off some shame within you. So there's 4 little things that you can do. So the first one you need to be able to do is to recognise that you've experienced shame, okay, and just be able to be really honest with yourself about that. The physical signs, the inner signs, okay, don't just carry on with your day, because you might, like I said, then take it out on somebody else. You need to actually look after yourself if that's what's happened, so recognise it. Second thing you can do is to put it into perspective as much as you can. So say if it was that you said something silly in a meeting, you could remind yourself of the 20 other things that you said in that meeting that were fine, okay? And even the comments that people said, oh, thanks really for your work on that. Berna, you worked really hard on that. I'm really pleased. Okay, you can remind yourself of all of the positive things that happened, not just dwell on this one negative thing. So don't exaggerate the situation or catastrophize. You might even want to laugh at yourself and just be like, I can just laugh that off. It's okay. It doesn't matter. It was one meeting, okay, or one comment or something like that, okay? And be compassionate with yourself in that understanding. The third thing you can do is just speak it out. So it can be really good to verbalize this and just say, just find someone and just say, I feel like such an idiot. This happened and then that happened, and it's someone that, you know, I really care about what they think about me, and now I'm worried that they think less of me, or whatever it was, or I just felt really small. I was made to feel really small by someone. They said this comment and it really cut me down, okay, and it's just set me off and I can't let it go. You know, it's been, the rest of the day has gone by and I'm still cut up by this thing that person said. So you can speak it out with someone. And really to receive, you're trying to receive their reassurance that everything's going to be okay, but also to validate that sounds really hard, okay? If something happened in your morning and you're still carrying it with you in the afternoon or evening, that's really hurt you, okay? It really affected you. So the other person hopefully will be able to validate that and just say, yeah, that sounds like a really hard day. Okay, so that's the kind of person that you want to call, someone who can be really understanding in that way. So that's the third thing. So first, recognize shame. Second, put it into perspective. Third, speak it out. The fourth thing that we can do is to reach out, so to others. So ultimately, we want to build in ourselves a resilience to this happening. One of the best ways we can do that is to be really sensitive with people when they are on the other end of it, okay, when they're on the receiving end of shame. We might see someone make a mistake or make an idiot of themselves or fumble over something, and you can see that they're kind of kicking themselves about it, and you can be the one that goes up and says, are you okay? Like, I saw that you seem like you're really upset about how that all went, and you can be that person that gives the validation and the reassurance to them that it's going to be okay, and let them speak, okay, whatever it was. Okay, they might say, I just really wanted to do a good job of this and I feel like I mucked it up, okay? Or, you know, they might have just done something and you can say, it doesn't matter, don't worry about it. You can be the person to give that reassurance. Okay, but ultimately, Brené Brown's work is all about building within us that courage to face the hardest stuff, to face our shame, compassion with ourselves and with others, and also the connection that can build when we're compassionate with each other, with ourselves and with each other, then it can really build connection between us, okay? And that's really beautiful for our Christian community, and that's the kind of witness of God's love that we want to be. Okay, so I've just offered to you today 4 ways to process what's happening around you, and I've just introduced it, so I really encourage you to go and follow up more resources on these different things. But yeah, just to remember these things, you might want to speak it out to another person, okay? And you'll be in a better space when you've been able to do that. And all of these things, I think, are increasing in us that ability to be self-aware and to really to know then where our behaviours are coming from, okay? To not suddenly have an angry outburst with our family and not know that it was because we were frustrated with our assignment, okay? Or and it enables us as well to speak it out, maybe to our family, of just saying, look, I'm feeling quite stressed at the moment, and asking for their compassion and maybe even asking for their understanding, or talking about how they can help you to deal with whatever it is that you're going through at the moment. Okay, so these can be really good exercises for us just to do on our own and help us be more resilient, but it can also then be brought into some of our conversations. And I think the best thing is that if you've gone off and processed what's happening, you're less likely to be then angry when you discuss it with someone else. You're in a better place, you've thought it through, you've prayed it through, you've talked to God about it, and then even if you do need to have a conversation with someone else, you're in a way better space to be able to do that. So I guess I would encourage you to do that, and to be keeping an eye on what's happening, okay, and how you're responding to the things that you're seeing, to know what your baseline is as well. If you've got a baseline of I'm already quite stressed and then there's going to be things that will tip me over the edge, just to be looking at that. So look after yourself, no matter what you're doing, just or how this is affecting you, just really take care in all the ways that you already know, and hopefully some of these little strategies have added to that and will be helpful to you as well. Know that we'll be praying for you. We're praying doubly hard for all the different intentions that are associated around this this crisis at this time. And hopefully this can be a real time of grace and growth. Take hold of these opportunities to grow closer to the people you live with, to know more about yourself, and to grow closer to God, knowing that we need Him. Okay, to get through this time, we need to come to Him with all our brokenness and yuckiness as well. Okay, so God bless. Have a great Holy Week, and can't wait to celebrate Easter with you on the other side. Can't wait to see you face to face sometime on the other side of all of this. Okay, God bless.
Let us arise, your hands and feet, give sight to the blind, reach out to the lost as we arise, and fall to our knees, beholding the cross of Christ. We cry out to you, have mercy on us as we arise.